sound!
This is a 420 TV presentation, The Lost Book of Enki, Part 3. The Second Tablet. Alalu to the Earth escapes. To boldly go, where no Anunnaki had gone before. And I think it's just about, well, 420, puff puff, pass, you fucking pothead. Now on with the Anunnaki education you are getting. To snowshoed Earth Alalu set his course, but secret from the beginning he chose his destination. To regions forbidden Alalu made his way. No one has gone there before, no one at the hammered bracelet a crossing had attempted. A secret from the beginning Alalu's course has determined, the fate of Nibiru in his hands it placed, by a scheme his kingship to make universal. On Nibiru exile was certain, their death itself he was chancing. In his scheme, risk was in the journey. Eternal glory of success was the reward. Riding like an eagle, Alalu, the heavens he scanned. Below, Nibiru was a ball, in a voidness, hanging. Alluring was its figure, its radiance emblazoned the surrounding heavens. Its measure was enormous, its belchings fire blazed forth. Its life-sustaining envelope, its hue, a red, was like a sea churning. In its midst the breach was distinct, like a darkened wound. He looked down again. The wide breach turned into a small tub. He looked again. Nibiru's great ball turned into a small fruit. The next time he looked, in the wide dark sea Nibiru disappeared. Remorse the heart of Alalu grasped, fear held him in its hands. Decision to hesitation turned. To halt in his tracks Alalu considered. Then from audacity to decision he returned. But it did not matter anyway because no one can hear you scream in space. This is a good time to spark up, so light your bowl up and take a toke. Okay. Are you good now? Good, we will get back to the history lesson. So pay attention. 100 leagues, 1,000 leagues the chariot was coursing, 10,000 leagues the chariot was journeying. In the wide heavens darkness was the darkest. In the far away, distant, their eyes were blinking. More leagues Alalu travelled, then a sight of great joy met his gaze. In the expanse of the heavens, the celestial's emissary was him greeting. Little Gaga, or Pluto, the one who shows the way, by its circuit Alalu was greeting, to him a welcome extending. With a leaning gait, before and after the celestial and to it was destined to travel, to face forward, to face backward, with two facings was it endowed. Its appearance as first to greet Alalu as a good omen he at once considered. By the celestial gods he is welcomed. So was his understanding. In his chariot Alalu followed Gaga's path. To the second god of the heavens it was directing. Soon Celestial Antu, or Neptune, its name by King Enki was given, in the deepest darkness was looming. Blue as pure waters was her hue, of the upper waters she was the commencement. Alalu by the sight's beauty was enchanted. To course at a distance he continued. In the far beyond Antu's spouse, on, began to shimmer, by size Antu's the equal, as his spouse's double, by a greenish, blueness was, on, distinguished. A dazzling host encircled it on its side. We call it Uranus, yes, the planet, not your butthole. With firm grounds they were provided. To the two celestial gods, Alalu bade a fond farewell, the path of Gaga still discerning. The way it was showing to its old master, of whom it was once the counsellor, to Anshar, the foremost prince of the heavens, the course was a turning. By the speeding chariot, Alalu, the ensnaring pull of Anshar, or as we now call it Saturn, could tell. With bright rings of dazzling colors the chariot, it was enchanting. His gaze, Alalu, to one side quickly turned, that which shows the way with might he diverted. A sight most awesome then to him appeared, in the faraway heavens the family's bright star he discerned. A sight most frightening the revelation followed, a giant monster, in its destiny moving, upon the sun a darkening cast. His heart its creator swallowed. Frightening was the occurrence. An evil omen, Alalu indeed thought. The giant Kishar, Jupiter, foremost of the firm planets, its size was overwhelming. Swirling storms obscured its face, colored spots they moved about. A host beyond counting, some quickly, some slowly, the celestial god encircled. Troublesome were their ways, back and forth they were surging. Kishar itself a spell was casting, divine lightnings it was thrusting. As Alalu looked on, his course became upset, his direction was distracted, his doings became confused. Then the deepness darkening began to depart, Kishar on his destiny continued to circuit. Slowly moving, its veil from the shining sun it lifted, the one from the beginning came fully into view. Joy, in Alalu's heart, was not long-lasting. Beyond the fifth planet the utmost danger was lurking, so indeed he knew. The hammered bracelet, or the asteroid belt, ahead was raining, to demolish it was awaiting. Of rocks and boulders was it together hammered, like orphans with no mother they banded together. Surging back and forth, a bygone destiny they followed. Their doings were loathsome, troubling were their ways. Nibiru's probing chariots like preying lions they devoured. The precious gold, needed for surviving, they refused to dislodge. The chariot of Alalu, toward the hammered bracelet, was headlong moving, the ferocious boulders in close combat to boldly face. Alalu the firestones in his chariot more strongly stirred up, that which shows the way with steady hands he directed. The ominous boulders against the chariot charged forward, like an enemy in battle attacking. Toward them Alalu a death-dealing missile from the chariot let loose. Then another and another against the enemy the terror weapons he thrust. As frightened warriors the boulders turned back, a path for Alalu granting. Like by a spell the hammered bracelet a doorway to the king it opened. In the dark deepness Alalu the heavens could clearly see. By the bracelet's ferocity he was not defeated, his mission was not ended. In the distance, the sun's fiery ball its brilliance was sending forth, welcoming rays toward Alalu it was emitting. Before it, a red-brown planet, as we too call it, the red planet or Mars, on its circuit was coursing, the sixth in the count of celestial gods it was. Alalu could but glimpse it, on its destined course from Alalu's path it was quickly moving. Then snow-hued Earth appeared, the seventh in the celestial count. Toward the planet Alalu set his course, to a destination most inviting. Smaller than Nibiru was its alluring ball, weaker than Nibiru's was its attracting net. Its atmosphere thinner than Nibiru's was, clouds were within it swirling. Below, the earth to three regions was divided, snow-white at the top and on the bottom, blue and brown in between. Deftly Alalu spread the chariot's arresting wings around the earth's ball to circle. In the middle region dry lands and watery oceans he could discern. The beam that penetrates downward he directed, earth's innards to detect. I have attained it. Ecstatically he shouted, gold, much gold, the beam has indicated. It was beneath the dark-hued region, in the waters it was too. With pounding heart Alalu a decision was contemplating. Shall he on the dry land his chariot bring down, perchance to crash and die? Shall he to the waters his course direct, to perchance into oblivion sink? Which way shall he survive? Will he the treasured gold discover? In the eagle's seat Alalu was not stirring. To fate's hands the chariot he entrusted. Fully caught in earth's attracting net, the chariot was moving faster. Its spread wings became aglow. Earth's atmosphere like an oven was. Then the chariot shook, emitting a mortifying thunder. With abruptness the chariot crashed, with a suddenness altogether stopping. Senseless from the shaking, stunned by the crash, Alalu was without moving. Then he opened his eyes and knew he was among the living. At the planet of gold he victoriously arrived. Now, this is the account of the earth and its gold. It is an account of the beginning and how the celestial gods were created, or in modern terms the story of our solar system's formation and history, planet formation, the origin of life on our planet, and Nibiru, a cast-out, a wandering planet, a child born from a different star. In the beginning, when in the above the gods in the heavens had not been called into being, and in the below, Ki, the firm ground, had not yet been named, alone in the void there existed Apsu, our star the sun, their primordial begetter. In the heights of the above, the celestial gods had not yet been created. In the waters of the below, the celestial gods had not yet appeared. Above and below, the gods had not yet been formed, destinies were not yet decreed. No reed had yet been formed, no marshland had appeared. Alone did Apsu reign in the void. Then by his winds the primordial waters were mingled, a divine and artful spell, Apsu upon the waters cast. On the void's deep he poured a sound sleep. Tiamat, the mother of all, as a spouse for himself he fashioned. A celestial mother, a watery beauty she was indeed. Beside him Apsu, little Mummu, then he brought forth, as his messenger he him appointed, a gift for Tiamat to present. A gift resplendent to his spouse Apsu granted, a shining metal, the everlasting gold, for her alone to possess. Then it was that the two their waters mingled, divine children between them to bring forth. Male and female were the celestials created, Lamu and Ladhamu by names they were called. In the below, did Apsu and Tiamat make them an abode. Before then had grown in age and in stature, in the waters of the above Ansha and Kisha were formed, surpassing their brothers in size they were. As a celestial couple the two were fashioned. A son, in the distant heavens was their heir. Then Antu, to be his spouse, as On's equal was brought forth. As a boundary of the upper waters their abode was made. Thus were three heavenly couples, below and above, in the depths created. By names they were called, the family of Apsu with Mummu and Tiamat they formed. At that time, Nibiru had not yet been seen, the earth was not yet called into being. Mingled were the heavenly waters. By a hammered bracelet they were not yet separated. At that time, circuits were not yet fully fashioned. The destinies of the gods were not yet firmly decreed. The celestial kinfolk banded together. Erratic were their ways. Their ways to Apsu were verily loathsome. Tiamat, getting no rest, was aggrieved and raged. A throng to march by her side she formed, a growling, raging host against the sons of Apsu she brought forth. With all 11 of this kind she brought forth. She made the firstborn, Ginju, chief among them. When the celestial gods of this did hear, for counsel they rallied. Ginju, she has elevated, to rank as command to him she gave. To each other they said, a tablet of destiny to his chest she has attached, his own circuit to acquire, to battle against the gods her offspring Enki she instructed. Who shall stand up to Tiamat? The gods asked each other. None in their circuit stepped forward, none a weapon for battle would bear. At that time, in the heart of the deep, a god, the planet Nibiru, was engendered, in a chamber of fates, a place of destinies, was he born. By an artful creator was he fashioned, the son of his own son he was. From the deep where he was engendered, the god from his family in a rushing departed, a gift of his creator, the seed of life, with him away he carried. To the void he set his course, a new destiny he was seeking. The first to glimpse the wandering celestial was the ever-watchful Antu. Nibiru, alluring was his figure, a radiance he was beaming, lordly was his gait, exceedingly great was his course. Of all the gods he was the loftiest, surpassing theirs his circuit was. The first to glimpse him was Antu, her breast by child never sucked. Come, be my son. She called to him. Let me your mother become. She cast her net and made him welcome, made his course for the purpose suited. Her words filled the newcomer's heart with pride. The one who would nurse him made him haughty. His head to doubled size grew larger, 4 members at his sides he sprouted. He moved his lips in acceptance, a godly fire from them blazed forth. Toward them too, his course he turned, his face towards, on, soon to show. When on, saw him, my son. My son. With exaltation he shouted. To leadership you shall be consigned, a host by your side will be your servants. Let Nibiru be your name, as crossing forever known. He bowed to Nibiru, turning his face at Nibiru's passage. He spread his net, for Nibiru 4 servants he brought forth, his host by his side to be, the south wind, the north wind, the east wind, the west wind. With joyful heart on, to Anshar his forebear the arrival of Nibiru announced. Anshar upon this hearing, Gaga, who was by his side, as an emissary sent forth words of wisdom to On, deliver, a task to Nibiru to assign. He charged Gaga to give voice to what was in his heart, to On thus say, Tiamat, she who bore us, now detests us. She has set up a warring host, she is furious with rage. Against the gods, her children, 11 warriors march by her side. Ginju, among them she elevated, a destiny to his chest she attached without right. No god among us against her venom can stand up, her host in us all has fear established. Let Nibiru become our avenger. Let him vanquish Tiamat, let him save our lives. For him decree a fate, let him go forth and face our mighty foe. Tuon, Gaga departed. He bowed before him, the words of Anshar he repeated. On, to Nibiru his forebears' words repeated, Gaga's message to him he revealed. To the words Nibiru with wonder listened. Of the mother who would her children devour with fascination he heard. His heart, without saying, to set out against Tiamat, him already prompted. He opened his mouth, to On, and Gaga, he thus said, if indeed I am to vanquish Tiamat your lives to save, convene the gods to assembly, my destiny proclaim supreme. Let all the gods agree in council to make me the leader, bow to my command. When Lamu and Lathamu heard this, they cried out with anguish, strange was the demand, its meaning cannot be fathomed. Thus they said. The gods who decree the fates with each other consulted. To make Nibiru their avenger they all agreed, to him an exalted fate decreed. From this day on, unchallengeable shall be your commandments. To him they said, no one among us gods shall transgress your bounds. Go, Nibiru, be our avenger. They fashioned for him a princely circuit toward Tiamat to proceed. They gave Nibiru blessings, they gave Nibiru awesome weapons. Anshar, 3 more winds of Nibiru brought forth, the evil wind, the whirlwind, the matchless wind. Kishar with a blazing flame filled his body, a net to enfold Tiamat therewith. Thus ready for battle, Nibiru toward Tiamat directly set his course. Now this is the account of the celestial battle, and how the earth came to be, and of Nibiru's destiny. The Lord went forth, his fated course he followed, toward the raging Tiamat he set his face, a spell with his lips he uttered. As a cloak for protection he the pulsar and the emitter put on. With a fearsome radiance his head was crowned. On his right he posted the smiter, on his left the repeller he placed. The 7 winds, his host of helpers, like a storm he sent forth. Toward the raging Tiamat he was rushing, clamoring for battle. The gods thronged about him, then from his path they departed, to scan Tiamat and her helpers alone he was advancing, the scheme of Kinju, her host's commander, to conceive. When he saw valiant Kinju, blurred became his vision. As he gazed upon the monsters his direction was distracted, his course became upset, his doings were confused. Tiamat's band tightly her encircled, with terror they trembled. Tiamat to her roots gave a shudder, a mighty roar she emitted. On Nibiru she cast a spell, engulfed him with her charms. The issue between them was joined, the battle was unavoided. Face to face they came, Tiamat and Nibiru. Against each other they were advancing. They for battle approached, they pressed on for single combat. The Lord spread his net, to encompass her he cast it. With fury Tiamat cried out, like one possessed she lost her senses. The evil wind, which had been behind him, Nibiru drove forward, in her face he let it loose. She opened her mouth the evil wind to swallow, but could not close her lips. The evil wind charged her belly, into her innards it made its way. Her innards were howling, her body was distended, her mouth was open wide. Through the opening Nibiru shot a brilliant arrow, a lightning most divine. It pierced her innards, her belly it tore apart. It tore into her womb, it split apart her heart. Having thus subdued her, her life breath he extinguished. The lifeless body Nibiru surveyed, like a slaughtered carcass Tiamat now was. Beside their lifeless mistress, her 11 helpers trembled with terror. In Nibiru's net they were captured, unable they were to flee. Kinju our moon today, who by Tiamat was made the host's chief, was among them. The Lord put him in fetters, to his lifeless mistress he bound him. He wrested from Kinju the tablets of destinies, unrightly to him given, stamped it with his own seal, fastened the destined to his own chest. The others of Tiamat's band as captives he bound, in his circuit he them ensnared. He trampled them underfoot, cut them up to pieces. He bound them all to his circuit. To turn around he made them, backward to course. From the place of the battle Nibiru then departed, to the gods who had him appointed the victory to announce. He made a circuit about Apsu, and to Kishar and Anshar he journeyed. Gaga came out to greet him, as a herald to the others he then journeyed. Beyond on, and unto, Nibiru to the abode in the deep proceeded. The fate of lifeless Tiamat and of Kinju he then considered. To Tiamat, whom he had subdued, the Lord Nibiru then returned. He made his way to her, paused to view her lifeless body, to artfully divide the monster in his heart he was planning. Then, as a muscle, into two parts he split her chest from her lower parts he separated. Her inner channels he cut apart, her golden veins he beheld with wonder. Trotting upon her hinder part, the Lord her upper part completely severed. The north wind, his helper, from his side he summoned, to thrust away the severed head. The wind he commanded, in the void to place it. Nibiru wind upon Tiamat then hovered, sweeping upon her gushing waters. Nibiru shot a lightning, to north wind he gave a signal. In a brilliance was Tiamat's upper part to a region unknown carried. With her the bound Kinju was also exiled, of the severed part a companion to be. The hinder part's fate Nibiru then considered, as an everlasting trophy of the battle he wished it to be, a constant reminder in the heavens, the place of the battle to enshrine. With his mace the hinder part he smashed to bits and pieces, then strung them together as a band to form a hammered bracelet. Locking them together, as watchman he stationed them, a firmament to divide the waters from the waters. The upper waters above the firmament from the waters below it he separated. Artful works Nibiru thus fashioned. The Lord then crossed the heavens to survey the regions. From Apsu's quarter to the abode of Gaga he measured the dimensions. The edge of the deep Nibiru then examined. Toward his birthplace he cast his gaze. He paused and hesitated. Then to the firmament, the place of the battle, slowly he returned. Passing again in Apsu's region, of the sun's missing spouse he thought with remorse. He gazed upon Tiamat's wounded half, to her upper part he gave attention. The waters of life, her bounty, from the wounded place were still pouring. Her golden veins Apsu's rays were reflecting. The seed of life, his creator's legacy, Nibiru then remembered. When he trod on Tiamat, when he split her asunder, to her the seed he surely imparted. He addressed words to Apsu, to him thus saying, with your warming rays, to the wounds give healing. Let the broken part new life be given, in your family as a daughter to be. Let the waters to one place be gathered, let firm land appear. By firm land let her be called, Ki, or earth as we say it, henceforth her name to be. Apsu to the words of Nibiru gave heed, let the earth join my family, Ki, firm land of the below, let earth her name henceforth be. By her turning, let their day and night be. In the days my healing rays to her I shall provide. Let Kinju be a creature of the night, to shine at night I shall appoint him earth's companion, the moon forever to be. Nibiru the words of Apsu with satisfaction heard. He crossed the heavens and surveyed the regions. To the gods who had him elevated he granted permanent stations. Their circuits he destined that none shall transgress nor fall short of each other. He strengthened the heavenly locks, gates on both sides he established. An outermost abode he chose for himself, beyond Gaga were its dimensions. The great circuit to be his destiny he beseeched Apsu for him to decree. All the gods spoke up from their stations, let Nibiru's sovereignty be surpassing. Most radiant of the gods he is, let him truly the son of the sun be. From his quarter Apsu gave his blessing, Nibiru shall hold the crossing of heaven and earth. Crossing shall be his name. The gods shall cross over neither above nor below. He shall hold the central position, the shepherd of the gods he shall be. Asha shall be his circuit, that his destiny will forever be. Now this is the account of how the olden times began, and of the era that in the annals the golden era by name was known. and how from Nibiru to Earth the missions went the gold to obtain. The escape of Alalu from Nibiru was its beginning. With great understanding was Alalu endowed, much knowledge he by learning acquired. By his forefather Anshargal of the heavens and the circuits much knowledge was amassed, by Enshar was knowledge greatly augmented. Of that Alalu made much learning. With the sages he discoursed, savants and commanders he consulted. Thus was knowledge of the beginning ascertained, thus did Alalu this knowledge possess. The gold in the hammock bracelet was the confirmation, the gold in the hammock bracelet of gold in Tiamat's upper half was the indication. At the planet of gold Alalu victoriously arrived, his chariot with the thunder crashing. With a beam he scanned the place, his whereabouts to discover. His chariot on dry land descended, at the edge of extended marshes it landed. He put on an eagle's helmet, he put on a fish suit. The chariot's hatch he opened. At the open hatch he stopped to wonder. Dark-hued was the ground, blue-white were the skies. No sound there was no one to bid him welcome. Alone on an alien planet he stood, perchance from Nibiru forever exiled. To the ground himself he lowered, on the dark-hued soil he stepped. There were hills in the distance. Nearby much vegetation there was. Ahead of him there were marshes, into the marsh he stepped. By the water's coolness he shuddered. Back to the dry ground he stepped. Alone on an alien planet he stood. With thoughts he was possessed, of spouse and offspring with longing he remembered. Was he forever from Nibiru exiled? Of that again and again he wondered. To the chariot he soon returned, with food and drink to be sustained. Then deep sleep him overcame, a powerful slumber. How long he slept he could not remember. What awakened him he could not tell. A brightness there was outside, a brilliance on Nibiru unseen. A pole from the chariot he extended. With a tester it was equipped. It breathed the planet's air. Compatibility it indicated. The chariot's hatch he opened. At the open hatch he took a breath. Another breath he took, then another and another. The air of Ki indeed compatible was. Alalu clapped his hands, a song of joy he was singing. Without an eagle's helmet, without a fish's suit, to the ground himself he lowered. The brightness outside was blinding. The rays of the sun were overpowering. Into the chariot he returned, a mask for the eyes he donned. He picked up the carried weapon, he picked up the handy sampler. To the ground himself he lowered, on the dark-hued soil he stepped. He made his way toward the marshes. Dark greenish were the waters. By the marsh's edge there were pebbles. Alalu picked a pebble, into the marsh he thrust it. In the marsh moving his eyes glimpsed, the waters with fishes were filled. Into the marsh the sampler he lowered, the murky waters to consider. For drinking the water was not fit, Alalu greatly disappointed. He turned away from the marshes, in the direction of the hills he went. He made his way through vegetation. Bushes to trees gave way. The place was like an orchard, the trees with fruits were laden. By their sweet smell enticed, Alalu picked a fruit. In his mouth he put it. Sweet was the smell, sweeter the taste was. Alalu greatly delighted. Away, from the sun's rays Alalu was walking, toward the hills he set his direction. Among the trees a wetness under his feet he sensed, a sign of close-by waters. In the direction of the wetness he set his course. In the midst of the forest there was a pond, a pool of silent waters. Into the pond the sampler he lowered, for drinking the water was good. Alalu laughed. An unstopping laughter seized him. The air was good, the water for drinking was fit. There was fruit, there were fishes. With eagerness Alalu bent down, together his hands he cupped, water to his mouth he brought. A coolness did the water have, a taste from Nibiru's water different. Once more he drank, then with fright he asunder jumped, a hissing sound he could hear. A slithering body by the pool side was moving. His carried weapon he seized, a blast of its ray toward the hissing he directed. The moving stopped, the hissing was ended. To examine the danger Alalu stepped forward. The slithered body lay still. Dead was the creature, a sight most strange, like a rope its long body was, without hands or feet was the body. Fierce eyes were in its small head, out of its mouth a long tongue was sticking. A sight on Nibiru never beheld it was, a creature of another world. Was it the orchard's guardian? Alalu by himself pondered. Was it the water's master? Himself he asked. In his carried flask he some water collected. With alertness to the chariot he made his way. The sweet fruits he also picked. To the chariot he set his course. The brightness of the sun's rays was greatly diminished. Darkness it was as the chariot he reached. The shortness of the day, Alalu pondered, its shortness him amazed. From the direction of the marshes a cool lightness on the horizon was rising. A white-hued ball in the heavens was quickly rising. Ginju, the earth's companion, he now beheld. What in the accounts of the beginning, his eyes the truth could now see. The planets and their circuits, the hammered bracelet, Ki, the earth, and Ginju its moon, all created were, all by names were called. In his heart Alalu knew one more truth of beholding needed, the gold. The gold. The means of salvation, to be found was needed. If truth be in the beginning tales, if by the waters the golden veins of Tiamat were washed, in the waters of Ki, its cut off half, gold must be found. With hands unsteady Alalu the tester from the chariot's pole he dismantled. With trembling hands the fish's suit he donned, the fast arriving daylight eagerly awaiting. At daybreak the chariot he exited, to the marshes he quickly stepped. Into deeper waters he waded, the tester into the waters he inserted. Its illuminated face he eagerly watched, in his chest his heart was pounding. The water's contents was the tester indicating, by symbols and numbers its findings disclosing. Then Alalu's heartbeat stopped. There is gold in the waters, the tester was telling. Unsteady on his legs Alalu stepped forward, deeper into the marshes he made his way. Again he the tester into the waters inserted. Again the tester gold announced. A cry of triumph, from Alalu's throat emanated. Nibiru's fate in his hands now was. Back to the chariot he made his way, the fish's suit off he took, the commander's seat he occupied. The tablets of destinies that knows all circuits he enlivened, to Nibiru's circuit defined the direction. The speaker of words he stirred up, toward Nibiru the words to carry. Then to Nibiru words he uttered, thus he was saying, the words of the great Alalu to Anu on Nibiru are directed. On another world I am, the gold of salvation I have found. The fate of Nibiru is in my hands. To my conditions you must give heed. Synopsis of the third tablet. Alalu beams the news to Nibiru, reclaims the kingship. Anu, astounded, puts the issue before the royal council. Enlil, Anu's foremost son, suggests on-site verification. Ea, Anu's firstborn and a son-in-law of Alalu, is chosen instead. Ea ingeniously equips the celestial boat for the journey. The spaceship, piloted by Enki, carries 50 heroes. Overcoming perils, the Nibiruans thrill by Earth's sight. Guided by Alalu, they splash down and wade ashore. Iridu, home away from home, is established in 7 days. Extraction of gold from the waters begins. Though the quantity is minuscule, Nibiru demands delivery. Abgul, a pilot, chooses Alalu's spaceship for the trip. Forbidden nuclear weapons are discovered in the spaceship. Ya and Abgul remove the weapons of terror and hide them. End of Part 3. This has been a 420 presentation, The Lost Book of Enki, altered by DJ Ransom the Freedomist. See you next time for Part 4 Tablet 3. Until then, I hope the weather is cloudy and the time forever be 420.